Hey everyone, welcome back. Blackman here with Overseas Ghost. The story I'm sharing today comes from Thailand, an allegedly true account about a couple whose dream of owning a home turned into a nightmare. It's a warning about sweet deals that hide dark secrets. If you enjoy our stories, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's begin. About a week ago, I saw a post that kept appearing everywhere. It was from an older woman I know, announcing she was selling a house for less than she'd paid. She was honest that someone had died there, but that's not this story. I'm just giving her a little promotion. When we deal with real estate agents, especially for second-hand homes, some are sincere and some are not. This story can serve as a lesson. I heard this from a woman I'll call Ning. Ning works in property sales. She's a house agent and real estate broker. About a year or two ago, she was contacted by a client who needed to sell a house urgently. It was a mortgaged property and the client was desperate. Ning asked about the price. It was shockingly low, about 2 million baht still owed to the bank. If someone actually bought it, the client was willing to throw in extra cash, maybe 200,000 or 300,000 baht for the buyer to renovate. So Ning pressed for the reason. She assumed it was about unaffordable payments. After talking directly, she asked the standard questions. Had it flooded? Had someone died there? Then the client, whom we'll call Mr. Chai, decided to tell her the truth directly. Back in 2018, a little before the COVID era, Mr. Chai lived with his girlfriend and her younger sister. They'd been in Bangkok a while, their income stable, so they planned to apply jointly for a home loan. First-hand or second-hand, either would work. They tried repeatedly but were always rejected. The main obstacle was their existing debt. One day, feeling discouraged, they came across a Facebook page. It promised something like, "If you dream of owning a home but carry debt, we're happy to clear that debt for you." I've seen these ads before. I'm not judging whether they're good or bad. Mr. Chai was interested and called them because he knew he had substantial debt on his credit record. Normally, when you shop for houses, the agent asks what size you want, which area, but this agent's first words were, "We'll choose a house that fits your debt amount." Mr. Chai gave his details, together with his girlfriend, about 300,000 baht in debt. The agent said they'd select something appropriate. They were shown many places, some they liked, some they didn't. Some were too far from work, some too large. Some worried them on installment costs or the price wouldn't cover their debt clearance. They told the agent that after getting the house, they'd need furniture. The agent asked if they wanted decoration, air conditioning installation, anything done to the property. If those weren't included, they'd need money to do it themselves. They admitted they had no money at all, especially with that 300,000 baht debt hanging over them. So the agent said, "There's this one house. It's selling for about 500,000 baht below its appraised value. If we use that to clear your 300,000 baht debt, you'll have roughly 200,000 baht left for renovations." The agent took them to see it. The house wasn't far from their workplaces. It actually sat between Mr. Chai's office, his girlfriend's office, and even the sister's workplace, a suburban location I won't specify precisely. They drove to the housing estate, Mubon, a planned residential community common in Thailand. It looked impressive, a large development, probably hundreds of houses, though quite old, maybe 20 to 30 years. It had a morning market, an evening market, convenience stores, a swimming pool, public parks. When they entered, the house was on Soi 6. In that lane, about 20 houses stood, and nearly every one had a for sale sign posted, selling urgently, that kind of thing. The street was covered in them. Seeing Mr. Chai's stunned expression, the agent explained, "This area, these are all our company's houses. We bought them all and are currently finding buyers for them." At the time, they suspected nothing. That 500,000 baht discount was enormous. Looking back at the economy then, such a price drop seemed implausible. But when they entered the house, they loved it. Air conditioners were already installed, it had been painted and renovated, though the work seemed aged and was starting to show wear. Overall, Mr. Chai was very pleased. The agent said that if they were interested, they could sign immediately with excellent terms. First, no down payment required. Second, they would clear the 300,000 baht debt. Third, they could move in free of charge right away while the loan application processed. After the debt payment, they'd wait about 3 months for the credit record to update before applying for the mortgage. These were outstanding offers, and they were already paying rent, which was difficult. It seemed too good to be true. But alongside these benefits came 2 penalty clauses. First, if the loan wasn't approved, that was acceptable, but they'd owe monthly rent of 15,000 baht for their time living there. That was still manageable. The second clause, if their loan was approved but they changed their minds, they'd pay a penalty equal to double the debt clearance amount. So if the debt was 350,000 baht, the penalty would be 700,000 baht. If the loan came through, they were committed to this house, no backing out. And if they refused it, they'd also owe back rent at 15,000 baht plus legal interest. Weighing the benefits against the penalties, it seemed to make sense. They decided to proceed, signed the contract, and the debt was paid. After moving in, they noticed that after dark, of those 20 houses on Soi 6, only about 5 had lights on. The rest displayed for sale signs. Yet outside the lane, markets bustled, shops stayed open, convenience stores operated, public parks filled with people. Entering that Soi felt like crossing into another world. Life proceeded routinely for a while. Leave for work in the morning, return around 6 p.m. The first strange thing Mr. Chai noticed was that his girlfriend frequently saw someone standing ominously near their front door around 9 p.m. To save energy, they kept the lights off, but they could consistently make out a shadow. Mr. Chai felt uneasy, though his concerns were more about security. This was an old estate, and he wasn't certain about the security guard arrangements. One holiday, he visited the market and asked a vendor about the guards. The vendor assured him security was excellent here. Many residents, most paid their common fees promptly. She said there really were guards, about 3 or 4 patrols on bicycles almost all night, plenty of them. This seemed reasonable. They often saw groups of roughly 14 to 15 guards all around. But Mr. Chai mentioned that in his 2 weeks living there, he'd never seen a guard pass his house. The vendor insisted they were real. Perhaps he simply hadn't spotted them. But if the guards were being lazy, there was one lane they didn't like to enter, Soi 6. Mr. Chai thought, "That's my lane." He asked why. The vendor, who also happened to be an agent renting and selling houses on Soi 6, gave an answer, but Mr. Chai didn't think much of it at the time. Then, the second event occurred. One evening, Mr. Chai's girlfriend came home late. He was home with her sister. Suddenly, his phone rang. His girlfriend, parked about 50 to 100 meters from the house, said she saw someone lying in front of their gate. Mr. Chai found this odd and went to look. When he opened the door and stepped out, his girlfriend reported that the figure had vanished right before her eyes. From a distance, it looked like someone sprawled on the ground. This was the second event. The final incident happened one night when Mr. Chai and his girlfriend were home alone. The sister had often told them that late at night, while watching television, she would hear a voice from outside calling, "Come out." But when they checked, no one was there. This time, the two of them heard it themselves. They opened the door around 3 or 4 in the morning and saw a man, well-dressed in a shirt and pants, simply standing and staring. They started walking towards him from their house. But the man's gaze wasn't fixed on the 2 people approaching him. He was staring at something behind them. Suddenly, the man collapsed. As he fell, they saw a bullet hole in the center of his forehead. He dropped to the ground right in front of them. Mr. Chai was shocked and ran back inside to grab his phone. Then he heard his girlfriend scream. She said the fallen man had disappeared right before her eyes. That's when they knew they couldn't remain there. They called the agent and asked directly if the house had a ghostly history. The agent admitted there were no ghosts inside the house, but there were ghosts in front of it. The agent then explained, going back to around 2010 or 2011, this property had been seized by the bank. The previous owner, an elderly man, refused to vacate. Court summonses were posted, but he wouldn't leave. When the company acquired ownership, they tried negotiating with him. Soft approaches, hard tactics, involving police, sending people in, but the old man remained stubborn. Mr. Chai told the agent that since moving in over a month ago, they hadn't yet invited monks to bless the house. The agent replied, "If you want to invite monks or hold a housewarming merit-making ceremony, you can do all that only after the transfer is complete." They weren't permitted to bring monks into the house. The agent then revealed the reason for the manifestations in front of the property, knowing they probably couldn't stay now. As mentioned, the house was seized. The old man wouldn't leave. In the final confrontation, the company sent people to pressure him to move out. The old man fired back with a gun, killing a company employee right in front of the house. But the story didn't end there. Their old debt was cleared, and they were in the process of securing a loan. The agent said they'd likely be approved. The agent wouldn't release them. If they didn't want this house, they'd owe the 700,000 baht penalty plus 2 months' rent at 15,000 each, 730,000 baht total plus legal interest. They were truly trapped. They didn't know what to do. The agent then made another offer. "It's okay, you'll get the loan anyway. If the loan doesn't go through, I'll help advertise it for rent. You might get over 10,000 a month. It should be fine." But Mr. Chai thought, if they rented it out, the area was already fully vacant. It felt like they were being set up. They felt completely cornered. They couldn't live in the house. The agent then proposed another option. "It seems you might need startup capital or a place to live. We have a condo with remaining funds available. You can live there." The agent checked their credit and said they could still qualify for a condo loan in addition to the house, possibly simultaneously. This was their business formula. The agent said if they took the condo loan, they'd have an additional 400,000 baht available. Remember, 300,000 to clear debt, got 200,000, plus 400,000 from the condo loan, that's 600,000 baht. Greed never spares anyone, tempting with large numbers. The problem was this condo was far from Mr. Chai's workplace, but close to his sister-in-law's job. They felt they had no escape. They were considering having the sister-in-law help with the house payments. They decided to go for it. At least they'd obtain some capital to restart their lives, since they couldn't stay in the house and would have to rent a room again anyway. So they sent the sister-in-law to live in the condo first. It was a very old condominium, about 40 years, though the unit itself was newly renovated. It was near her work in a suburban area. During the final month of the loan process, they uptighted with the agent. The agent said the signing date was set for both the house and the condo. Meanwhile, the sister-in-law kept calling to complain. In her new room, there was a musty smell like urine and feces. She also felt that whenever she was in the room, she was being groped, someone trying to touch her chest. Mr. Chai told her it was probably fine. There was no rule against protection, to bring Buddha images, pray. It was new construction. The monthly payment, it wasn't very high. Over 30 years, it was cheaper than renting an apartment, so she decided to stay. The worst part for her was that many times when she was about to leave for work in that half-asleep state, something would hold her back, making her not want to exit the room. All the while, that smell of urine and feces lingered. The loan signing day arrived. They signed for the house, handing over the title deed, chanote, the official Thai land title document, for a moment before the bank took it, leaving them with only a copy. Then they went to sign for the condo. Both were approved. The house payment was about 17,000 baht monthly for a property valued around 3 million baht over 35 years. The condo was valued at 1.5 million baht with payments of about 6,500 baht monthly. Total obligations came to roughly 25,000 baht monthly. This was money they had to pay while waiting for tenants, a 30-year commitment. After signing, the agent, quite brazenly, said they would advertise for tenants and take a 50% cut of the rental fee as commission. Mr. Chang went back to renting an apartment, essentially paying for empty assets. The sister-in-law continued living in the condo, still calling frequently to say she felt unwell and uneasy. About a month after the loan was finalized, the sister-in-law's company called. They said she hadn't come to work for 3 or 4 days. Her phone was off. Mr. Chai assumed she had personal business and didn't worry much. About 10 days, the company called again to say they had to terminate her for being absent over 10 days. He and his girlfriend decided to check in on her at the condo. When they approached her room, they could smell a foul, musty odor from outside the door. They knew something was wrong. They got the building staff to open the door. The sister-in-law had hung herself from the ceiling light fixture in the room. The most shocking revelation came next. The title deeds for both the house and the condo had been transferred to them by the company. But above their names on those documents, the previous owner of both those properties was the same person, that old man. And that old man, after shooting the company employee, had fled and later hung himself in that same condominium unit. This is the story Mr. Chai came to tell. Now he is struggling desperately to escape this burden. He still dreams of owning his own home, but now he's trapped under this burden and his sister-in-law is gone. I didn't tell him the details about her. I only learned later that she had passed away in this incident. So, what's scarier, ghosts or people? I believe it's the human heart. From talking with Mr. Chai, I understand the sweet allure of having your debt erased. Consider this. The ultimate dream for people who come to work in Bangkok is owning a house. But while we live, we also feel greed. New iPhones release, we accumulate debt. When monthly debt obligations exceed 30 to 40% of our income, we can barely qualify for any loan. And there are companies that exploit this vulnerability. I'm not saying the company is wrong. They're running a business, offering a path to owning a home. But if you end up with a problematic property like this, you must bear the consequences. Business must profit. So if someone appears offering to clear your debt, making you debt-free, especially when you're desperate and seeking help, you might think, if I contact them, I'll have no more debt. What they may not realize is that these operators play on that desperation, that desire for a lifeline, to lure you with promises that make you feel not only will you be debt-free, but you'll also have money to spend. But remember, there is no such thing as a saint who will simply absorb your debt for nothing. It's business, and business requires profit. If a house sells for $2 million with an appraised value of $2.5 million, there's no way they're simply giving away a 500,000 baht difference. Something else must be involved. The agent has a stake. Nothing is free. Even when banks offer 110% financing, they charge you through the interest you'll pay. Everything is business. It depends on how sincere the agent is, but ultimately it's business. If you get an agent chasing a large commission, they might exploit you. This story is a real lesson. In the end, if you genuinely want to buy a house, it's better to have 10 to 20% of the value saved first, then decide. Or if you sense it will be a long-term burden you cannot manage, it's better to rent. It's a long-term commitment, especially in this economy. The interest alone can exceed 50% over the loan period. When you see an offer that's too tempting, you must be careful. Sometimes a cheap house or a good deal always comes with something extra, and that extra often ends up harming us.